Welcome back, folks. Well, I'm supposed to talk. That's right. Okay. I don't know if I can really do white.
I don't either. You're pretty dirty.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Ronald.
And I'm Ronnie.
And this is the Ron's World. Thank you so much for our subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe right now. This episode, we're talking about the daughter's wedding. Who pays for it? Ronnie?
You know, the greatest thing about weddings is that they are a tradition. They're a tradition to honor love. And as part of that tradition, one of the things that's outlined in the wedding handbook is that the father of the bride pays for the wedding. That's such a great tradition to honor with the rest of the wonderful traditions of a wedding.
Okay. Weddings, like you said, Ronnie, are about love. But they're not as much about the old-timey traditions. And it's definitely not about gender identity. This is an economic equation here, that the bride and groom need to figure out what type of wedding they want, and then the family members can contribute whatever they can afford.
No, it's not what, yes, it's about love. I agree with you on that. But think about it. There's all these, distributions that have already been built in. Whoever came up with the wedding guide and wrote this book way back when was very smart because they thought about it. Let's think about it. The man has to buy a very expensive ring to tell, that his future love that I do love you and here's a rock to prove it. Then, when you get to the actual night before the wedding, the father of the groom has to pay for the rehearsal dinner, they have to pay for the band, they have to pay for the alcohol, and then the father of the bride, or mother of the bride, or a combination, pays for the actual wedding itself. They thought this through, and really, if you think about it, it's a very strategic plan. We might even want to think about moving our tax plan to correlate with this.
Okay, first of all, you're supposing all these things, that like women want a big rock on their finger. That is just simply not true. You're supposing all these
Time
things.
Out. Women, do you want a big rock on your hand? Leave your comments down below. I bet you do.
Okay, first off, we're really talking about two people sharing their lives together. So those people need to come together and they need to determine what they really want from their wedding. There's eloping, which has become a new tradition. There's having a small wedding, a destination wedding. You bring just a select few to a destination. There's the big expensive weddings. Now, if you have like the daughter's parents paying for the wedding, they're going to essentially be in control of what type of wedding because they're pulling the purse strings. It's really about the couple being able to decide their own fate for their wedding.
No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate at all. This is a celebration of one family giving their daughter to another family. That is what a wedding is all about. That's why traditionally, I'm not saying it has to be this way, but traditionally the female will take the man's name, and now that last name becomes one. So you are having this ceremony of handing one to the other. So if you put that in the hands of the bride and groom, you're kind of really being very disrespectful to the father who is giving his daughter away.
Oh my God. So what's more disrespectful? Assuming that women need to take the man's last name? These traditions, you're going back into some archaic times. And this giving the bride away? Really? Seriously? It's like your daughter is somehow property? Yeah, that's what it was thousands of years ago when your daughters were actually seen as liabilities because they could make babies and that's another mouth to feed. Ronnie, you're thinking about this all wrong. And I guarantee all those daughters out there, including any daughters that you might have out there someplace, that they don't want to be seen as property.
Okay. I think there's a lot of subtext of Ronald's thoughts that have been somewhat, interpreted into what I'm saying. That isn't what I'm saying. We are talking about traditions. And we are talking about this whole wedding. The whole concept of a wedding is a tradition. Why do you need some piece of paper to say that you love somebody? Does that piece of paper all of a sudden have love built into it? No. Love isn't something that you can write on a document. But when you make the choice to get married, you are making a choice to honor the tradition of a wedding. Otherwise, don't get married. Just go run off and be a couple.
Ronnie, all your talk about traditions and all these archaic customs, let's just talk to a real wedding planner. Somebody who knows this stuff backwards and forwards.
No, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Well, hey, Dawn, thanks so much for joining us today. Ronald and I like to talk about the topics that, usually I'm right on and he just likes to cause problems with. But today we're talking about the daughter's wedding and who should pay for it. If you're giving away the daughter, Who should be paying for that wedding? Not leading the witness here.
My answer is there isn't a right answer for everyone.
Wait. I thought she said Ronnie is right and Ronald also is not wrong for some people in very specific situations.
Ronnie's rigidity in his life kind of breaks at times, and Dawn, you just broke it like a tiny twig.
One of the first things that you guys would need to do or think about is ask your child's fiance what their cultural background is, and do they have any cultural traditions that dictate who pays for what, and are there any expectations that their parents have. But as far as like mainstream culture goes and the shift from like the parents of the bride pay for everything, I think that's really changed gradually over time, and it's definitely less of a rule nowadays than it might have been in like the 40s.
Well, that puts a little bit of a kink in my theory, which I'm not a fan of right now.
That happens on every episode, Don, if you haven't noticed, that there's some kind of logic, rationale, or other people's feelings involved, and it totally undermines Ronnie's point. But, I don't want him to feel bad, but, you just basically uncovered the mystery of the Ron's World show. If you're essentially paying for the wedding, what you're doing is you're basically paying someone to take your daughter, because daughters were seen as liabilities in the past.
I see a lot of people who don't do that anymore because it feels like you're selling off your daughter, which isn't really a good look. Remember and consider the reason why we're here, the reason why this wedding is happening. It is the celebration of two people making a commitment to join together to make a new life out of two old lives coming together into one in love.
You're going to make Ronnie cry if you keep talking.
Well, now that Ronald is done with his pre-election speech and pandering to the audience about how he's such a good guy and all this nonsense, let's talk about reality. All that makes perfect sense. But Dawn, at the end of the day, you're right. It's about two families and two couples coming together, celebrating, but celebrating isn't free. It's easy to talk about all the kumbaya and rainbows and unicorns and everything, but at the end of the day, someone's got to pay for that stuff.
I think you're probably starting with maybe an old version of what weddings look like. And what a wedding, I think, actually looks like a lot of the times when it is really influenced by what parents want, as opposed to the couples making decisions for themselves about how they want to celebrate.
Exactly my point. She is exactly right about that, Ronnie.
Yeah, look, everybody is entitled to an opinion, whether you're a expert or not.
And leave those comments down below.
Well, thanks for watching. It was really great to get an expert in. It was really great to listen to Ronald talk about nonsense like usual, and I'm sure you have an opinion. Who do you think pays for the daughter's wedding? Please leave your comments down below. Let us know. And if you have other great show topics, ideas you want us to cover, leave them down below as well. I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Ronald.
See you next week.